Welcome everyone. This is Brighter Society Initiative, and today we are honored to have our FGM survivors with us. As you can see, our beautiful ladies are all dressed in purple because on International Women's Day, which was 8th of March, the theme color of the day was purple, and today we are in purple to celebrate all FGM survivors all over the world. And my name is Millicent. I will be your host for this show, and I'll give our beautiful ladies a chance to introduce themselves, starting from my right.
Thank you so much. So my name is Sadia Hussein. I am FGM survivor. You can agree with me. This is a series of episodes for survivors to share their stories because our stories are best told by us. So today I will be speaking as a survivor, but for the next sessions, for the next episodes, I will be moderating and hosting you. So thank you so much for accepting to share our stories.
My name is Bernadette Luresian Loloju. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Anti-Female Genital Mutilation Board, Kenya, and I'm a survivor of FGM. I went through FGM when I was barely 13 years old, and I've lived with the consequences of FGM for the rest of my life, up to the age where I am now. And I have decided that it is important for me to share my story because I want more survivors to speak on their story. Because one thing for sure is that maybe the people out there do not understand what women who have gone through FGM go through every day. And so I urge my fellow survivors, this is a platform that has been started by us, and we expect more women to come out and speak about their stories. I am a mother, I am a wife, I am an auntie, I am a woman who serves the community diligently because I want a world which is free from female genital mutilation, and I want a world where women's voices will be heard louder and louder.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Evangeline Mukami. I work at a local non-governmental organization as a business development manager. I am a survivor of female genital mutilation, and though I don't have the exact details, I know I went through FGM at a very young age, probably at around 11 years. And I am amongst the statistics that we are talking about, the 4.5. And the journey has not been easy, it's been a struggle. It's a privilege for me to be able to share my story today. I have done that severally in my own capacity and other platforms. And I never thought I would be able to talk about my story as a survivor of female genital mutilation because of the shame. And this is why I am happy to be here today, to break this silence, to be able to give someone else a chance, to be able to feel safe, to be able to talk about their story. Our stories, many people will never understand what someone goes through when they talk about being survivor of female genital mutilation. But for where I stand or the journey that I have gone through, I know it's difficult, it's hard, and we are bringing on board, we are creating this space so as to allow as many women and girls to be able to join this space and give a voice, tell their stories in different ways, so as to be able to create awareness and to reduce a lot of stigma, and to be able to support each other because of the anguish, the trauma that we have gone through as survivors. I am a mother, I am a wife, and I serve the community at different levels. But every day I wake up thinking that there will be a safe space, a safe environment where girls and women will no longer be afraid that someone would be planning to take them through female genital mutilation. So we are happy today, and join us in this conversation, follow us, so that we can also be able to spread the word out there.
Wow, amazing. I'm already looking forward to what our survivors are going to tell us. And today, our dear listeners, we're going to hear it from the horse's mouth. So maybe we start with Bernadette. You can tell us your story. What has it been like?
Yeah, so I'm a Maasai girl born and brought up in a small village called Rombo at the border of Kenya and Tanzania. While growing up, it was very normal when I was growing up. FGM was normalized in that in the village, if you did not go through FGM, then you had no voice. Like what people say nowadays, that something is trending. You know, FGM in our villages at those years was trending. Like if you are a group of girls who are getting cut, then you are the ones who are trending at that time. So it was normalized, and it was like if you're not getting married earlier, then all the girls who reached class 8 without going through FGM, then their ticket to go to Form 1 was like you have to go through FGM, then go to high school when you've already been cut. So in the Maasai community, it was done in front of your mother's house. Like they put a hide, the hide, you know, the skin that comes from the cow. So there has to be a special cow that was slaughtered. Then that hide is the one that you sit on at the door of your mother. Like all the women in that village that day know that you're going to go through FGM. So all the women in the village will come to your mother's house very early in the morning at around 5:30, because they know that there are girls in that village who are going to go through FGM. So now what used to happen is that we were being done for as a group. So for us, we were myself, my older sister, then myself and my cousin. So we were like the same age group. So us, we were put together. And at the same time, there was circumcision going on for our cousins on the other side. And for the men, they used to be circumcised at the cow shed. Now at the cow shed, that's where the men were circumcised. I cannot tell you why, but that's how it used to be. But for women, you're cut at your mother's door. Then what happens is that you have someone who is like, you see, like when you go for baptism, you have that person who is your sponsor, or the person who stands with you during baptism. So also for FGM, there was that woman who was made to be very special, who held your back. And then there's those other ones who hold your legs. Because number one, you're not supposed to even blink your eye. You're not supposed to blink your eye. You're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed even to move your hands or your feet or your fingers. You're not supposed to move anything. So you are supposed to stand there and look very brave, because if you cry or if you move or you blink your eyes, then the whole village will laugh at you, because they'll say you are scared or you are not a courageous woman. So for us, when we were told, my grandmother, made fun of it, and she always made us think it is the best thing to happen to you as a woman. And now that you're being told you have to be a woman before you go to Form 1, then we thought it is the best thing for us. So what then happens is that women at that time were being cut a lot by traditional cutters. And the traditional cutters were doing a very bad cutting at that time. I had never attended any ceremony where women were being cut, because I was always in school. So I had never seen a traditional cutter cutting someone, or I had never seen FGM being performed. So I know maybe if I had seen someone else, maybe I would have gotten scared. I would have said, I'm not going to go through that pain. But I had never seen someone go through it. So what used to happen is that the evening before the tomorrow, then you are prepared. But for us, because my parents had gone to school, and it's only my grandmother who had not gone to school and the rest of the community, then my parents decided it's better we brought a nurse, a retired nurse. We used to call her Shosho. So this retired nurse was the one cutting girls now from those families that were thought to be, those educated girls were being cut now by a retired nurse, because they believed we are school girls and we are not as courageous as the other girls who had never gone to school. So we looked like those timid girls from school, and you've been put in your own category that these are somehow special. So we were brought that retired nurse. This retired nurse has her own paraphernalia. Number one, I was not cut using razor blade. I was cut using a pair of scissors. That's how bad ours was. We were cut using a pair of scissors. Then the circumciser, the lady, was carrying also syringes. She also used syringe, 2 numbers, like for you not to feel the pain. And those syringes, those years, were those that were being boiled. They were not these ones now you remove from, you just buy very new. They were boiled syringes. And so they were very long, like the one used on cows. They were not the small ones like the one they used on us during COVID. They were big syringes. And so the evening before we were cut, the paraphernalia of the lady was boiled in a sufuria, a normal sufuria, your mother's sufuria in the kitchen. So she was boiling them because now it had cut other girls. So now it has to be boiled. Those years they used to be boiled. That was how they were being sanitized. They were being boiled. So you can imagine when this mama comes now that evening and start boiling her things that will be used on you tomorrow, you start getting scared from there. You start freaking. You are like, my God, these things will be used on me. You don't know which one is going to be used on you. She had marked that thing for holding your play. Inaitwa hiyo ya kushikilia ile daktari kama ile anashikilianga hivi. So she had everything that she needed. So that evening, we were now taken through the traditions. First of all, there used to be those Maasai stools for the wazes. So that stool, they put water with milk. And then it's used by your grandmother or your auntie to shave your head because you have to be shaved clear. You know, among the Maasai, women never used to plait their hair. Maasai women, all of them, their hair used to be cut, all of it, like this. So your head has to look like this. I can't tell you why. I have not really gone to find out why you have to be shaved. So you are shaved. After you are shaved by your aunties with that milk and the water that is in the stool, then you're prepared for tomorrow. So now you are the women who are going to be cut tomorrow. And everybody is very excited that now we are having another group of women. I think the men were also excited that they are going to have a group of wives, because the reason why you're getting cut most of the time is because you're going to become someone's wife. So the morning came. Obviously you don't sleep the whole night because you're scared and you don't know what's going to happen to you. And but at the same time you don't understand what is going to happen to you because nobody has ever told you there's anything called FGM. Nobody has ever told you how you're supposed to behave like a woman, how your private parts need to look like. So we thought it is the normal, then we have to go because this is what the community expects of us. So the morning comes and we go through the worst pain ever because I've never forgotten up to today the pain I went through, and the women looking at us, you know, at the door of your mother, and everyone is looking at you, so you are not private anymore. The so-called private parts have now become public parts because they are public now. Everybody has seen them. So why is it private anymore? It's now public. And so it was very early in the morning. We were cut. The first one, the second one. They have to start with the older one, my sister, then my cousin, then me. So for me, I had them saying, do it quickly because she's young. Do it quickly because she's still young. So she did it very quickly. And I already had the injection that had been injected in my labia majora. So you can imagine, labia majora, a syringe this size, and I'm a very small girl. And so we go now, we are taken back to our beds. So everyone was put on her bed. And I remember my sister was on this bed, my cousin on this one, and me on this one. So at around midday, my sister started bleeding immediately. So she was bleeding, and it was a mattress, but the blood went down. So I could see the blood coming down, and she fainted. So when she fainted, everybody started screaming because now it was something with the order of our community. Someone is fainting, they are screaming all over, and I think they didn't understand that there is something called bleeding. And someone bleeds until they just can die. And they thought, they would always say, if you bleed and you faint, it is your fathers who did not bless you. So they called my uncles, what, they came. You know, now the uncles and everyone, they had started their drinking spree because they are now celebrating. You know, among our community at that time, there was, before girls or boys get circumcised, there is a whole month of brewing, because people will now come and drink on that day. So they had started drinking, and they're supposed also now to come and and use the drink, the traditional brew, to pour on her, like to bless her and to tie some, they have some grass that they come and tie and start blessing her so that she stops bleeding, what. So later, that's when I came to understand that even if they did all those things, the bleeding had continued. And I can't remember what happened. Either the retired nurse was called or another nurse was called and they injected her and the bleeding stopped. But that didn't mean that she became anemic for so many years. Our whole high school years, she was anemic. So when I came later to realize that FGM leads to bleeding and women can easily die because of the bleeding, and then there's infection, because when now we had just been cut, it was time to go and do your natural going for short call, because now you're being fed with milk, with whatever, so you have to go for short calls. Now when the time came for short call, my friend, we were in trouble, because now you're trying to not to go for the short calls, but you know now you cannot stop without going for the short. You have to go, and now you're going to go through hell, because the injection that you were given in the morning got finished, because you are just made to be numb for a few, like maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour. Then after that, the numbness just disappears, then the pain comes back. Now you have to again to go urinate and all that. And that's how now we started really going through the pain of going through female genital mutilation. That's where our pain started. By now having the first urine and then sleeping, and then you have to wash the wound, all that was so much pain for us. And after that, during that period, I was asking myself, so what was the reason? Yeah, why was I being cut? Am I supposed to now start having sex with men, or am I supposed to get married, or what was the reason? Nobody told me anything. So I will continue with my story from there, because now that's when now I became, my grandmother thought now I'm a woman in quotes, and went back to school feeling so good that I've been taken through FGM. So now I join all the other girls who are now feeling grown up, and that's what everybody felt. So when we went back to school, because we were cut in August, and we now went back to class 8 to finish our exams. So now we felt, we have become women now. We can do our exams and go to Form 1 as women. So I will continue my story from there.
That's amazing. I don't know what to say about that. Somehow that story is so touching. But I would like to hear from all of you, because we have 200 million women and girls globally, 125 million women and girls in Africa, and 4 million women and girls in Kenya who are still at risk of going through what we went through. So why is it that survivors are still silent about this thing? Why are we not speaking up?
Yeah, I could try to explain that and why survivors, or why there is silence among the survivors, is a lot of stigma, both internally from the self and both from externally. As you heard from Madame Loloju's story, the community feels it's a norm. Even when she was going through FGM, we feel that's what is okay. But the moment you get out of your community, like personally when I joined Form 1, it's the time I realized, because I went to a national school, this is the time I realized, what did I go through? So already now, I cannot talk about FGM because everyone in this school has not gone through FGM. So already I'm a stigmatized individual in this group. Then also, when as you grow older, when you hear people are dating and you start your dating life, you get married, you're also stigmatized by the same, by men, by, people who've not gone through FGM. So there is a lot of stigma, and a lot, it's a silent form of abuse. Like for example, you'll go to the police station, you'll see women have or men have reported other forms of violence, probably rape, defilement. Rarely will you find a case of FGM. Probably if an incidence of bleeding or hospitalized that will get into that book. So other forms of violence are embraced, or they are talked about. People say so and so was beaten at night, but rarely will you hear that people discussing about female genital mutilation. And at individuals level, because female genital mutilation was done to us at a very tender age, when you actually do not know who you are. So what stories are you supposed to tell? There is a lot of you that got confused at that, because when we look at developmental stages, those years are the years the child is trying to figure out who they are. You're just going into teenagehood, where even in some communities, people can't even remember that they went through FGM. So what are you talking about? At times, it's during delivery or during, as you're growing, that you realize I went through FGM. So that space already gives people limitations in terms of how do I tell the story. It's mixed in Kenya. It's mixed communities, where some communities practice FGM, others totally do not. So as we grow and we come probably to town, we go to college, we go to school, you're in a space where people will talk about how FGM is bad, and they will even try to victimize the survivors. So as a survivor, you feel like you had a role. You already start feeling guilty. Yet, personally at 11 years old, what choices do you have as a child? You know, you are completely under your parents or your guardians. Our days, you could not even question anything. So now, when someone says, why did you have to go through FGM? Why did they cut you? Why didn't you refuse? It's like you had, so that also increases the guilt, and you're in a corner thinking, what should I have done? Should I have done things differently? So now it even becomes worse when we start now the guilt trip, that probably if I ran away, and realistically speaking, it's way beyond us. We had nothing to do with it. And even our parents, that's how they knew how to do better. Even my mother used to say, at least for me, I got for you a nurse. As we were taken, they were taken through FGM through objects. They can't even tell were they iron sheets or what they were. So our parents, even where they sit when we engage them, they feel at least they try to do it in a more humane way. And that's how they knew how to, and that's how the society was then. So I would say stigma plays a very big role, and also lack of information, lack of knowledge. And at times we say also, let bygones be bygones. Many a times when you hear FGM as a survivor, it triggers emotions. So many a times you wouldn't want to go there. It's avoidance. You do not want anything that reminds you of the journey and the pain. And that's why we are having this platform, to be able to open up the space, to be able to create that space that someone can start by telling one statement. They may even write it down. They don't have to voice it. They may write whatever the feelings they go through, because also that helps in the healing, the trauma that they went through. Thanks.
I wanted to add something on why survivors are silent. One of the major issues that came out even from Eva is the stigma. The stigma is too high. And let me tell you, FGM survivors face double stigma. Reason being, at home, you are trapped with the culture. You want to go running for FGM because you are excited. As Bernadette said, no one prepares you for the pain, what FGM is. So you feel it's a fashionable thing to do. Once you are in the trap of the community and you go through FGM, now you feel you are accepted within the community and you're okay. But the moment you get out of that community and step outside that community, now you face the world stigma, where survivors of FGM are branded as frigid. We are taken as useless. So it's like FGM has a sexual attachment to it. Number one, the girls who have been trapped to go through FGM were actually subjected to FGM as one of the reasons being to curb their sexuality. You want to reduce promiscuity, you want to promote the virginity of the girl, you want to make the woman faithful in her marriage and all that. Some of the family feels like if you don't cut this girl will bring shame, she will get pregnant, you know. There is a lot of issues attached to FGM. Now, the question here is, this girl has a capacity of getting pregnant once in a year. Here is the boy, you know, FGM is like castrating a boy child. Here is the boy who has the freedom and moving around every day, walking free. No one is talking about castrating him because he might impregnate a girl. But a girl wants to be mutilated to actually reduce or, you know, make her not become promiscuous and all that. So my question I always ask the people is, surely the man who has the capacity of impregnating 10 girls a day is not castrated. But the girl who can get pregnant once in a whole year is mutilated just to prevent shame and all that. So I would say it's one way of controlling the sexuality of women and girls. And we are voiceless. As Eva said, at 10 years old, what choice can you even make? You cannot consent. You are excited because no one prepared you for the pain and all that. So you would want to go through FGM. Now, we are exposed to the outside world. Here we are told those who went through FGM again do not have sexual pleasure. Outside world now. Other people are being told, even in the trainings, I ran out of several conferences, breaking down because some people even some men stand up and say, you know, women who have been cut, ni kama magunia, you know, like sacks. They don't have feelings, they don't have this, that stigma breaks you down. You're in a conference, all these people. How can you even stand up and say, I'm also a survivor? How can you?
You can't.
You will remain silent forever because you don't want that stigma. I ran out of conferences until I came to Benedette and told her, look, what the community believed it was a myth. Again, the world has another myth. Are women sexual objects? Can't we have our bodies not looked at as sexual objects, rather as human beings who have feelings, who go through all this pain? So majority of the survivors are silent because they don't have that safe space for healing. I can assure you it's true. It's very, very emotional. It triggers a lot of pain. The trauma is there. That's why even these lively fish, sometimes when I hear something that is not even going through me, I'm just concentrating on watching this because it just cools my emotions down. But let me tell you, survivors, we are going through a lot. It's high time we discuss, are we sexual objects? Or we are human beings who need to make a choice on their body? How safe are our daughters who will be trapped again in the name of culture? And what will happen to them in the future? So the silence has to be broken, and by us.
That's good. I think I'm just curious when I saw Eva, the poster about Eva and coming from Embu. You know, in my understanding, FGM is for the pastoral communities. So Eva coming from Embu and it's a Bantu community and practicing FGM, maybe you can tell us your story.
Sure. And you know, the first one, actually many people have really queried if Embu is an FGM, you know, a focus county. And Madam Loloju can tell us, it's actually amongst the high-risk communities. From my own perspective, is that why FGM is silent in Embu is because it doesn't interfere with the girl's life. As you see, in Maasai, the pastoral community, mainly girls will be cut to be prepared for marriage. You know, at that age, but in Embu, you'll still go on with your life. You'll go to school, you know, and it's silent. From her story, she's saying even the way cousins, for us, it's that family. It's you and your family that know about whatever plans you have. So that silence is what has silenced it completely, and the fact that it's silence, it's not out there. It's not one of those things that people think it's a bother or it brings pain or trauma. When I told my story and I did some videos, all my neighbors, including some very prominent families, told me we also went through FGM, and I was shocked because in our community, when I rated FGM in my own understanding, I thought it was for the poor because I came from a very poor background. So I thought the rich, you know, the teachers, children, they were elite, as in there was no way they would have gone through FGM. But because of the silence, everyone does FGM in their own way, in their own space, and it remains to be that silent. But I'm glad that we can engage and to be able to, as survivors, to be able to say that this is happening and these are the effects. Because many a times why people don't think FGM is a big thing is because they think it's there. They actually don't see the effect. The silence also numbs down the effects. So if people can tell their story and what that has taken them through, it would make a difference. And also other people struggling silently would actually rise up. Like the time I told my story, I received calls every day. You know, someone, how did you, you know, I have also this, does it mean that I need to go this? Because as I said, I went through FGM at a very young age. And it was one of those days that you wake up, there is no preparation. And for us, how we grew up, when you're told, you do what you're told. So, you know, as a child, it's during the holiday, you wake up, you're playing. Then my auntie came, you know, people that you don't see in your home. My auntie came, you know, that simamizi, you know, you have a godmother sort of, and they came with a nurse, a retired nurse. And syringes were boiling. They put up the fire and they put those scissors and, you know, and as we were playing, then my grandmother said, you know, you're not supposed to be playing there, like, you know, from today. And for me, I was a tomboy. I used to climb the trees. I was just all over. And my grandmother says, kutoka leo, I don't want to see you playing, siju umekaa hivi, you know. And I was wondering, as in, you're just a child. Nothing clicks at that point. And within no time now, you're made to go through the cut. It's pain that I can't forget. The injections, even today, I can't even hold my baby for injection. It traumatizes me. I can even be injected, I faint. Yani, it gives me shivers because that needle is, they are boiled, they are blunt, so it's being pushed in you, and ikitoka inatoka na ngozi. And you see, the private organs, you're a child, one, your body is not, it's in that formative stage. So you can imagine how soft even your skin, you know, your body can't even take up that, but because you're being told sasa umekuwa mwanamke, and you know you're being told many things that are not even registering in your mind, and women are there. One, those banana leaves ndizo mnaekewa chini, and you're grabbed. Ni kama it's like mbuzi inachinjwa, you know, because you're in pain. You're not supposed to move. Then it's in darkness. So they are not even seeing what they are cutting. And even when we say it was a nurse, I don't think there is a school that takes you through to be able to do the mutilation. There isn't. So it's trial and error. If they feel this is the right size to cut, actually, the nurse was saying, ukikaa vibaya nitakukata zaidi. So just to scare you out. So you had to sit well so that you don't feel more pain. And it was an experience that every time I would want even to take my mind there, my mind moved out of that place very fast. It's very traumatic. And even today, at times I feel numbness in my leg, and I still attribute it to the injections. Because I think there were 4 of them, but you feel from the point of start to finish.
4 injections?
Yes, and I can tell you, it didn't numb. You know, the probably it was even water. That's what at times I think, it's just to play with your psychology. Because this is a retired doctor, nurse, so anatoa wapi nini?
Anesthesia.
Yeah. So just as I grow up now thinking about, because I felt the cut throughout, and were rough, and I don't even remember seeing my mother anywhere in the scene, but I remember my godmother, I remember the other aunties, people who were there within, and within no time, I can tell you, if only people would know that FGM takes a very short time, but the effects are long life. You know, it's a 2-second thing, but the effects from then goes on to, it will tag along your life everywhere. We started our healing, we were taken to bed. Can't remember all the details, but I remember tukifungwa maleso. You can imagine an 11-year-old with a leso. Now, you don't know even where to tie, how to tie it. Then, as I said, where I came from, even food to eat is not enough. So my mother is equally struggling to even feed you in that state where you're healing. And as usual, me, I was a tomboy. On the 3rd day, I was on the trees, and I was beaten thoroughly. And I niliitishwa kikao. So when I look at it today, I think seriously, as in, what did they expect me to do? And the more I was beaten, the more I was told not to, and the more I did it. I had my brother who followed me, and would do all, you know, we would go down. I haven't even healed. And we went back to school and life continued. And as I said, ours was never a discussion anywhere. It was not in school. It was not a discussion to be held. But what I remember is when I went to, at around 14 years, when I was going to Form 1, I started feeling some swelling. And I thought probably after the cut, now you grow. You know, the body is growing. And this swelling could not stop. It grew, it grew, it grew. And I could not even ask anyone. One, I have been told I am a woman. You know, I now need to operate like a woman, a mature person. And sex was not, even being able to discuss sex and sexuality, even menstruation with your parent or with your mother, it was not something to be discussed. I never thought that it was an infection. And I went on, and it grew to an orange size. And all the way high school, I joined campus. And now this, when I was in campus, this is the time it hit me. And I started now thinking, I need to go and seek medical, but where? And how do I even, I was told I should not even expose my private parts to anyone. So how do I even go to seek for help? And do I have even the resources to do that? So I remember when I was in campus, in campus, personally I didn't date. Because I felt, Sasa, this now in my consciousness, this is already a problem. It's no longer now growing up, you know. It's a problem that needs attention. So I remember there was a medical camp near the campus, and I went and I told the nurse that I wanted to see the doctor, and she asked me what it is. So on examining, she said that within the year they usually have surgeries it was a growth. She said it's a growth and they can remove it. The camp came, I went, not telling anyone within our family, and the cyst, now the doctor, this is the doctor now explaining to me it's a cyst, and the doctor even never attributed it to FGM. That's why I'm saying FGM is still silent, even amongst elite, even amongst the medics. And the cyst was removed. But barely after 1 year, the growth was back. And I have been through surgeries and surgeries and surgeries. And not at any one point I discussed this with my family. Because I'm telling you, it was not subject of discussion. It was, you know, I didn't even know where to start. But I looked for my own ways, my own means to be able to go for surgery. And my last successful surgery was in 2021. That now I got a doctor, Dr. Adan, who understood now this cyst, where it came from, and the best. And the more I went for surgery, the more I got scars. So you have FGM scars, then you have like additional 6 scars. So I look like ridges, you know. And now, worse when I got married. The other reason why survivors don't even discuss is because even the ones who are in marriage, they've never discussed that they went through FGM with their partners. So if I haven't discussed with my partner, I cannot come on TV and to be able to say that I have gone through FGM. So it continues to be silent. And even for me, I never discussed. And my husband never asked. So when I needed now money to go for surgery, this is the time now I had to tell him. But I didn't even tell him it's FGM. I told him I have a growth and the doctor has said this and this. So he supported me to be able to do that. As I was going through that, I was also looking at reconstructive surgery for women who've gone through FGM. And I spent all the years I worked, I think from 2010 to 2017, I spent all my money in hospital. I took loans. I could not settle. I would go to Eldoret. You know, I would take a flight out of this country. Yani, I could not, my mind was just ringing. Where is this reconstructive surgery? But more, it was not on clitorid, you know, the clitoral reconstruction. It was about these scars that, you know, they're just crowding me. I don't know if you've seen broccoli. You know broccoli, the way it looks like. Yes, so you can imagine your body looking like that. When I met Dr. Adan, courtesy of Madam Loloju, and for the first time, he told me, I know, are you from Embu? I know, you're notorious for FGM. So at least I felt someone knows something about FGM and understands. And he sat down there with me and I asked him questions and I engaged him for 3 hours. And you know, Dr. Adan is busy, but he got all the time. He explained to me, and I kept on asking him, so this will clear? He said, yes, I guarantee you. I said, no, I have been. I said, yes. And we engaged, and he actually linked me up with other survivors who had gone through surgery, and even worse growth and worse cysts than I had. So I started now feeling this is a space where I belong, or someone understood me. And finally in 2021, I went through the reconstructive surgery, and I would say from there my life changed, my self-esteem, you know. I don't have the scars, the ridges, you know. And even one of the things that Dr. Adan said, I needed to go and seek counseling. Because I needed more mental healing than even the physical healing. Because of those, you know, looking for cure everywhere, but not looking for cure for your trauma, for what is destabilizing you. So I was able to go seek for counseling. I did counseling courses just to be able to empower myself and to be able to understand myself more. And by the time I did the reconstructive surgery, my mental state was also equally in a state of being able to talk about my story. And I did the first video, and it didn't go well with my family. They felt like I've put our dirty linen out there. But for me, I say it's when you're looking, it's my story at the end of the day, and it's what I felt, and what I felt that if Madame Loloju didn't tell me about her story, probably I would still be seeking, you know, spending my money, going out there and looking for, you know, looking for cure that I didn't know what to or what to do with it. So for me, when I hear about FGM, I'm at ease. I don't feel like it's a trigger anymore. There are times I cry when I tell my story, but I think with time I've also come across survivors who've gone through worse than I have gone through. So it also creates healing. Every time I share my story, every time I hear a survivor story, it also creates that space where I go through healing myself, as I also support other survivors. Yeah.
Maybe we can just share, because in all this, I feel the men, we are not talking about them. They don't come in the picture when it's the cat, it's the aunties, it's our mothers. It's all about women who are doing this thing. They're doing the preparation, they're doing the process, and everything is coming from our women. So what role have men played in advancing FGM in our communities? What do you think men have done to this part?
Yeah, one thing is that we are from a patriarchal community. Yeah. Our communities are patriarchal. We have to accept that. But one thing I want to say is that men have never understood exactly what happens, because we've engaged men, and men, according to them, they are never there. And I can assure you, men are never there where women are cut. They are never there. Because even traditionally, they are not allowed. Just the same way, women are not allowed where men are being circumcised. So it was men alone and women alone. And there is no man who cuts women. It's the women who cut their fellow women. Yeah. And so that means what men need to have is to be made aware. Because we've realized the moment we make men aware of what happens, they really, really get shocked. And they ask, is this really what happens to women? Most of the men do not really understand the magnitude. And they don't even understand the woman's private part, how it looks like. When you go to many men, they will tell you, most of them, except now with this era of digital, where men are able, maybe even in their own small closed rooms or somewhere, they go and see, maybe on video or something. to see how it looks like. Most men don't know how it looks like. Because when you look traditionally, these things were never discussed. And nobody was ever discussing them. So when we go to our men, they tell you they never know even what is cut, what part of the body is cut. They don't know the different parts. Even when we sit here and say that we were injected in our labia majora, maybe if I tell men the lips, maybe that's when they'll understand. Or else if I say labia majora, most men will be asking, what is labia majora? Maybe they might be going to their Google to start Googling what is labia majora. So men do not understand what exactly happened. So number one, I want to remove men from the blame. Even though they were the ones traditionally that pushed that they have to marry girls who are cut. It's because traditionally that is what they were made to believe. It was made to believe that women who are cut are more faithful than those who are not cut. So it has never been explained that sex and everything is in the mind. It is not in the private part. That private part God created in a way that it could serve the purpose of God. Because God's purpose is for the world to continue. Like for the world to, for us to have the world continuing, to have babies and all that. That was the first purpose that God created. But because God knew that there is a way God needed us to be together, Adam and Eve, or the woman and the man, then he created that part to also bring something else. And so that is why God created that. So men have never understood why was it being cut in the first place. Because when you look at it, we have 3 types of FGM. We have the first type, we have the second type, and we have the third type. Why are they in 3 types? Because each of the types is cutting different parts of the private part. Another type is cutting the clitoris alone. Another type is cutting the labia majora and labia minora and the clitoris. And the other type is cutting all and then sew together. So another community went and sat down and thought, for us to have these women remain virgins, we need to sew them together so that the place where God created for man to go through can be so small that no man can go through until the marriage day, so that she is a virgin. You see? But now the communities forgot that the same place is used for menstrual monthly periods to come out. So now that person has been closed, the monthly periods cannot even come out. So that person suffers because they are not naturally releasing their monthly periods. So the moment we started now training and capacity building and telling men what exactly it means for a woman to go through FGM, then men started becoming champions to say no to FGM. So I know our men out there are continuing to be the lead champions. We have men who are champions who don't want to marry girls, who are saying they are ready to marry girls who are not cut, but can still marry those who are cut, because when you are cut when you are 12, then how does someone come and say they'll not marry you when you are 25 because you are cut? That one is also another stigma. Yeah. So they are just saying we are ready to marry those who are not cut, so that they can assure their mothers that the girl will get a husband even without being cut. So our men are very important because they are our fathers, they are our grandfathers, they are our brothers, they are our husbands, they are our friends. And so we know the moment men come into this conversation and men come and tell us, yes, we understand the pain you went through. We understand the pain you continue going through every day. And we are ready to support the next generation of girls not to be cut. Because male circumcision is very different from FGM. Male circumcision, men are being prepared for their next phase of life. Being prepared very well, even traditionally. But a woman is being curtailed. You're being made to suffer for being a woman. And God, when God created a woman, we know He created a woman as the last one. In fact, the last one in all creation. And that is why she's very special. And that's why that place is very special. In fact, that place, the vagina or the private part of a woman is like a spring of water. You see where water, the cleanest water comes from? If you interfere with the spring, the source of water, then there'll be no water going downstream. That is the source of life. That is, every person, every human being is born of a woman. Every human being is born of a woman. We appreciate that men are the ones who plant the seed, but it is the woman who brings the seed to life. Yeah, so the moment we understand that, and we understand how this person is very delicate, how this human being needs to be handled with a lot of care, then I know men will become the ones, because when we are told that the woman was brought from the man's rib next to his heart, that means that person is very delicate. But because society thought that maybe this woman who is very powerful and she might end up becoming something else, then maybe people thought, then we need to cut her. We need to make sure that she is destabilized. But that one is just thinking, because cutting women does not make them sexually inactive. No, it doesn't make them sexually inactive. It just takes some part of their sexuality, takes away some of their dignity. Because why are you not feeling undignified if my sister ever here says that down there she looked like a broccoli? Wasn't her dignity taken away from her? She has spent a lot of her money doing surgeries until the day we met, and I told her, you can see Dr. Adam. And Dr. Adam was able now to really help her to bring back her dignity. Our dignities might not be brought back if we were left the way God created us. Because she has told you, it took seconds, minutes for someone to destroy you. And it is taking us a lifetime to bring back our dignity. And that's why we are here, seated here saying, we are starting to have to voice. We want more women like us. Whether you are a minister, or you are a what, or you are an MP, or you are a whatever you hold in this society, it is time as a woman you spoke on behalf of the girls of this world who are going to suffer the same suffering we went through. And we want you to come out and say, enough is enough, and it ends with us. That's why we are here today. Yes.
That is quite powerful. I think at this juncture also, we'd like to give Sadia an opportunity to tell us her story. She has a powerful story. Sadia, would like to hear, what has your journey been like?
You know, at some point when Eva was telling me the amount of surgeries she went through, I almost felt like we just end the show, because for me, it's like a lot of survivors are even going more worse problems than ours, and they're still silent. If I couldn't call Eva today for this show, I wouldn't never learn about the sufferings survivors endure in silence. And that's why we have started this conversation, so that we know. If she didn't open up to Madam Bernadette, she would never get the services she got. And I'm happy you are able to help a fellow survivor. But how are we going to help those survivors who have never went out of that village, who currently are struggling with fistula? Some of them have been abandoned by their husbands. It's good enough that your husband even supported you for the medication. There are women who have been even divorced because of fistula. So I just want to appreciate, before I even share my story, I just want to tell all the survivors, what we went through is not normal, and this is the journey of us sharing our voices, so that men understand the problems we are enduring in silence, so that they are able not to force our daughters to go through what we are already going through. Because I'm 100% sure now, madam, schools will be closed in few weeks' time, and many girls are still prepared. Majority of them, let me tell you the truth, majority of them will be excited, like we were excited to go through FGM. They will go to the trap of FGM. Then what happens later on? In silence, now you deal with the lifetime complications of FGM. I'm Sadia Hussein. This is a book I wrote about FGM, the hidden scars of female genital mutilation. If each one of us never speak about what we went through, no one will actually understand what are the sufferings and pain behind our smiles. We all look beautiful, and you say these beautiful ladies, but there are painful stories behind our beauty and our smiles. So the hidden scars of female genital mutilation, actually it's hard to justify FGM because it's done to a hidden genitalia. And female genital mutilation actually happened to me when I was 10 years, barely your ages. So at that time, for me, it was something I was proud of. I was very excited to go through FGM because for me, whenever I go to school, girls do not want to play with me. They tell me you're not clean. As it's about cleanliness. You're not clean, you're stinking. In fact, in Somali word, that name they call you is really bad, really bad. If another girl or a woman, even the women, when you go for fetching water, they tell you, you're not cut, you still have bara. Bara is the worst name you would ever be called in the Somali community. So I also want this bara removed. But for me, let me tell you, when you are a child, you are very innocent. For me, I expected I will be washed. Because the mock is, I'm not clean to play with them. So I was expecting I will be washed, I will be cleaned and all that. And I was alone. Contrary to yours, I was alone, I was cut alone. So one day, my mother told me, tomorrow is your day. I was very excited. I couldn't wait. The whole night was long. I wanted to also be clean once again like the rest. No one prepares you for the pain. And like for you guys, mine, no anesthesia at all. Even the long syringe you're talking about was never there for me. So it's plain pain, as it is. You go through FGM as it is. So for me, my mother, very early in the morning, around 5 a.m., I was taken to the bush. For them, they believe before sunrise, if you cut before sunrise, you will not overbleed and all that. But blood will always come out when a tissue is cut. So I was taken to the bush and I was alone. I saw a lot of women, relatives, my aunts, those are maternal, the paternal aunts, not maternal, because, women go live in their husbands', houses. So all the women who are surrounding me, all from them are from paternal. And the cutter was actually my grandmother, the mother of my father. And I've forgiven her. She left the world. So may God actually take her to Jannah, inshallah. I've forgiven her. So for me, when I saw the razor, immediately I panicked. Because I was old enough to tell the use of a razor. It's to cut. What do they want to cut? For me, I was never prepared for that pain, so it was a great shock for me. The moment, the way your mother disappeared, my mother disappeared also. She took me there, she left me in the arms of my aunts, I don't know how they even grabbed me. All of a sudden, I was undressed, I'm on the ground, The same skin you're talking about was there, but for us, first we were laid down on the ground. No skin. The skin is used later on. So when I was laid down on the ground, I was never told you should not shout or what. Immediately she put a piece of cloth into my mouth. And she has to hold it with her hand. And I'm like, I want to scream, but I can't. At some point, she even overpowers me and blocks my nose. I can't even breathe. And my eyes are all out. I'm like, what is happening? Oh, God. Now, the sharp razor. You can imagine how razor behaves. And when they were shaving your hair, perhaps, you had the scratches of the sound. The sound itself is horrible. So now, the razor going with your flesh. A 10-year-old girl held by all these women, and your flesh is going with the razor, and they are not cutting once and leaving. They have to cut you this side. And I can't you are overwhelmed. All these women, why are all these women coming together? Because they know what they are about to do, you cannot actually withstand it. That's why they are holding you on the ground, making you go through. I always say, if they could have come and told me, this is what we will do on you, I would have made a choice, even at that young age, and say, no, I don't want to be cut. But because no one prepared me for the pain, I accepted. They cut me, and for us, it's the type 3 she was explaining. So after they did what they did, at that moment, I'm already weak. They made me stand up. So they applied some herbs. I don't know how, why. They believe you don't bleed much. Charcoal and something called heldid grinded together. So they apply on you. Then I was tied from the waist to the toes, completely tied. So you cannot even walk. So my mother came now as a hero. Then I was taken to under a tree. So I was laid on a skin on my sideways. So when my mom came, the women applied some coffee berries, they do some rituals, then they left. So my mother came. I asked her, you guys said you will be cleaned. I didn't see water, I didn't see soap. She, shut up. The way you are silenced, the silence in your community, the same silence in our community. You are not supposed to speak. That's why even the other girls, now I understand why the girls were never telling me what happens. So I was told, shut up. This is what we all went through. Just bear the pain, it will go. Instead of going away, the pain started. Mm-hmm. It started afresh. I'm shivering, fever all over. Now I don't know what to do. It's like I'm starting to bleed. My mother is telling me, no, it's normal, it's normal. What is normal? And I'm dying. So I was taken through no painkillers. There is no medication. After 7 days, they come check your wound. You're not healed completely. There are girls, after 7 days, they check. And they see, this one, even if she heals, she will not heal the way they want. And they cut again. I don't know if you read the story of Fatuma on the 6th February. She was cut twice, not once, twice. So for me, I just felt like, is this what we want? Surely, no. Then I said, maybe Saadia, because now it happened. It's irreversible. We all know it's irreversible. Let me just endure this pain for now. I will heal. Of course I will heal. So I gave myself hope. I healed. I was back to school, but I was never friends to the girls who mocked me again. For me, I would tell them, is this what you are feeling proud of? Mm-hmm. No, you lied to me. If you guys told me, Saadia, this is what we went through, maybe you could have saved me from this FGM. But they say, this is our culture. We are proud of it. So, the other reason why women and girls are silent about talking about FGM, we have been conditioned and trained to endure pain. Women are naturally trained to endure pain. So now, I am grown up. There are girls who completely heal together. Let me tell you. And listening to different stories of survivors get me a lot of angles of how survivors are living with this curse. Another girl was telling me she completely stitched together. Yes, she couldn't even urinate. They have to cut her so that she can urinate. And now, what my community is practicing is completely leaving just a tiny hole for urine. They don't know the whole way the urine is coming from is different from the one for menses and even for sexual pleasure and all that. Now, you've sewn up everything. The urine has to find its way down from the tiny hole you've left. And you're complaining about infections, back pain, abdominal pain, because you have blocked the God natural given passage and you want to create yours because you feel A girl should never be with a man. And my question today to even the men who are watching me from my community, if today you have not cut a girl, you have not cut the girl, and there is no man who slept with her, will she ever get pregnant? Will she ever break a virginity? And they have natural virginity. But if you mutilate me, type 3 of FGM, you've seen everything together. But there is a man who slept with you even before your marriage. Wouldn't you get pregnant?
You will.
Definitely will get. So we are doing injustice to these young girls, to these innocent girls, in the name of promoting, virginity, in the name of, reducing the urge of a girl. As you said, I agree with you. Sexual urge comes from the mind. It's like telling you, let me remove all your teeth so that you don't feel hungry, so that you don't eat. Who told you? The urge is coming from the mind. The feelings are natural. Here you are, they want to stitch everything together. What will you use now? You have the feelings. What will you do? So I want to tell my community, this FGM has to stop. So where did I see that this was wrong and why I opened up and said what I went through was wrong is when I was giving birth. During marriage, because you are stitched together, now you're reopened, so you feel like you are infibrillated. Now you are reopened, you are de-infibrillated, so the problem is over. During my first daughter's delivery, let me tell you, my mother came to me and told me, in our Somali community, you stay with your mother for delivery. For me, I thought maybe it's a good tradition to go and deliver near your mother. But let me tell you, these people are wise, they know. During delivery, it's a struggle. The only place you can be safe is with your mother. You're taken to your mother. So, my mom told me, Saadia, you know what? You're not going to hospital. And as educated as I am, the scissors you're talking about is what she made me feel like it's more painful than the razor. She told me, if you go to hospital, the doctors are really bad. They will come with scissors to cut you for delivery. But why, mom? She's not telling me why, because she knows what they did to me. So labor came, struggling to give birth, and you know how excited women are to give birth so that they can hold their babies. What I was waiting for 9 months now turned up to be nightmare, I'm struggling for life and death. Here I am, Saadia, I want to give birth, but I can't. So what happens, they called the traditional birth attendant to cut me with the razors. She couldn't. They called another one to cut me. She couldn't. The third one came now. She's like more technical.
Experienced.
So this is the third day actually. By that time, my mother is just crying from a distance outside. She cannot even bear to see me, what I'm going through and all that. So for me, I could just hear sounds. I don't know what is happening. I don't know whether it's delivery, whether I'm already dead, I'm in another world. I can't even tell the difference. So immediately I gave birth. I fainted. It was in the morning, that was around 11 a.m. So in the evening at 5 p.m. is when now I opened my eyes. I saw myself lying on bed. So my mom came and told me, oh, you're back. As if I went to travel. So I asked my mother, where is the child? I want to hold my baby. So now, that eagerness of, I forgot there is a big wood. So when I want to jump, I can't because I'm already back to FGM again. I was cut anyhowly by the cutters because they wanted to help me. The pain was very sharp. When I went, oh no, what is this again? So I'm like, I've just regained my conscience and I'm still feeling another pain. I'm like, Mom, okay, help me. So she gave me, and what gender is this? Immediately she told me a beautiful, you know, the way they want to make you feel good, a beautiful baby girl. Immediately I started crying. You know why? Because my daughter was such beautiful. You know, I had to hold her like this, and I just feel it's now. Because at that time, I just see an innocent girl coming again into this trap of culture. And I'm like, I was 17 years old at that time, and I'm like, Saadia, you know, will you be like your mother? So will you be a helpless mother who will fall into the traps of the society and make your daughter go through the hell you're already experiencing, or you will? So now I'm figuring out. My mother went out to bring me tea, so that I'm at least gaining strength and all that. But now I'm leaning on one hand, because I cannot sit properly because of the wound. I'm leaning on one hand, on this side, sided actually. I'm holding my daughter, and I started speaking from the heart to my daughter. But because of the pain I am speaking with, my mother overheard me. Then I said, my daughter, I went through all this because my mother was a coward. But I will be courageous enough to protect you. You will never go through the pain I'm going through. Then my mother walked in and she told me, you are the one who is coward. Since the day you went through FGM, you are talking about pain. This pain, your grandmother went through it. Your sister, all your sisters, my sisters are eldest of me. All your sisters went through it. They gave birth to bouncing baby boys. In fact, she told me, I don't know, I don't have that experience. In fact, she told me, giving a son is even more painful than giving birth to a daughter. They gave birth to baby boys. Here you are crying. What are you crying about? And I'm like, but mom, struggling between life and death, and you tell me this is normal for women to endure. Then I said, you see me as a coward, but I will never withstand this. At that time, I didn't know if anyone else was speaking about FGM. I come from Tana River County, where majority of the women are silent, everyone else was silent, and then I started knocking doors and telling people, this is wrong and we don't have to go through this. Then there is someone who reported me to the DC, the deputy, who is now the deputy public service head. At that time he was our DC, and they said, there is a young lady, I was very tiny at that time. There is a young lady who is disturbing our peace. When I went there, it was 2008. Why are you fighting FGM? And I put my daughter in a swing. I tie a cloth because my mother sees me like a crazy woman. I've gone mad. I'm obsessed with the pain women are going through. So I tie that, cloth. I put my daughter inside until she's asleep, then I leave. So I have to run and educate other women. The pain we are going through is not good. We need to stop this. Why I am as educated as I am, I couldn't go to hospital because of the seizures. At that time, I didn't know what this seizures does, but I will come to learn later in my third daughter. So when I went to the DC, he asked me, why are you fighting this? This is 2008, FGM is not even illegal. Then I said, you know what? I was struggling between life and death, and I feel what our women are enduring is not good, and I want to help other generations. But even my daughter, for me to protect her, she will grow up in this stigma. Then she will be pressured. She will feel my mother is not protecting me enough. If I can have other girls who are not going through FGM and growing with my daughter, she will feel safe. But if she will be alone, she will not withstand the pressure, and she will fall into the trap of this. And he told me, I will invite you to all my barazas, because I don't have money. I am very small. I refuse to go back to my husband. I want to rescue. Up to now, I'm in Tana River at my maternal home. Why? Because That's where I want to free girls first before I go to Wajir where I belong. But before I couldn't even gone there, Alhamdulillah, I'm free from the man. So now, what happened? When I started the campaign and the DC was giving me the platforms, I couldn't stand properly and even share my story. And I say, sharing this story actually heals. At some point, the words stuck in my throat. I cannot even talk. I just cry, and he says, let her cry because she will heal. Then I start again. When Esther Murugi, she was the PS for Gender, came for International Day for Women, there was no zero tolerance. We didn't even knew. Yeah, we didn't even knew. So she came for the Women's Day and she said, I want to talk to this lady who is actually advocating against this FGM. What triggered you to say no to FGM? Then I said, my personal complications of FGM. Then I started going to villages. I went to one village which I don't want to mention. Now, the men came. This lady is mad. She's obsessed with FGM. We want to hear what she's telling our women. Then they came. That was the eye-opener day of my life. The men came. I started speaking about how horrible it was for me to deliver. Then one man came with a rungu. He wanted to even beat me. And the media people ran away. Up to now, the story is in the media. The media people ran away because they thought at some point I will be beaten, chased. I was almost chased away. So now, the lady, his wife, the wife to the man who was actually so much, chaos, was bitter. She felt like, why is he even chasing Sadia and my story is even worse than Sadia's? That's when I felt like I should be talking to these survivors because my story is even better compared to others. When she asked me, Sadia, pass me the microphone. I gave her the microphone. I had public address and it's loud. Even the whole village could hear what she's saying, not just under the tree. She took the microphone, the hijab, she put it under the hijab and she was speaking. So even the face is not visible. And she said, my husband, it's me, your wife, who is speaking. Remember, the son we lost on the road when I was going to the hospital. I couldn't deliver at home and we were rushing to hospital and I was bleeding terribly. I couldn't give birth. It's because of what Saadi is sharing. You went to look after kettles. In the evening you come back. You are told your wife gave birth to a bouncing baby boy. Do you know we struggle between life and death? Do you know that I couldn't give birth to my first son? That's why we lost him. The women cut me anyhow, such that I started overbleeding. I started fainting. And they were to rush me to hospital so that my life can be saved. But the son died before they even reached the hospital. And the woman almost died, but the doctor saved her. So the man was like, he just sat quiet and he said, Sadia, talk. But why are you women not even telling us these stories so that we don't subject our daughters to the same? Then the lady said, because of how you are behaving. You want to beat Sadia because she wants to tell you something we are all enduring in silence. But because you guys feel whatever she's saying is not rightfully should be spoken in front of men or even in the society, that's why we are all silent. Because society has not given us the space to speak up so that we can be able to save the other generation. Then that's when we started having a healthy conversation. From that day, even the men, whenever I go, even the religious leaders started saying, Subhanallah, that is wrong. So women are going through hell. Women, from today, all those women who are doing this injustice to other women, you have to you have to compensate, you have to do this. And for me, let me tell you, I saw a woman who lost her son, went through fistula. She wears pampers to go to a hotel. She has a small cafeteria. She has to run her home. She never gave birth again. She was living all her life wearing pampers and all that. One day we went for a training, FGM, and I asked, why is this woman sitting, always isolating herself, and I was notified because of fistula. I started asking, what is this fistula? So there are terrible stories, worse than us.
Sure.
Then there was another lady having the same, she mentioned the other lady. So now this other lady lost also her son. She lost another girl. So the third girl is what she has right now. But now she also had fistula. She couldn't join the other survivors as well. So these girls were aired on television. Then they got health facility that actually said we can do surgery for them. They went through fistula reconstruction surgery, and currently as we speak, they are very happy. But the one that, the first one never gave birth again. She's all alone. She doesn't even have a husband up to date. Then another lady that I came across, when her first delivery, because she was in a village, like the way my mother told me, she couldn't give birth. So the second child, the same. She lost all the 2 kids. So the third one, when I went for a training, actually not a training, I went to give condolences to a family nearby. I was asked, Saadia, there is a girl who lost already 2 babies before in her previous births. And you know, in our community, you give birth until menopause. There is no time they say you gave birth last year, no. Every year you can give birth as many as you want. With the pain, I'm telling you, the enduring in silence. So this girl, when I was told to take her to hospital, the father-in-law told me, we already lost 2 sons. If this turns out to be a girl, we will name after you. And the girl was saved. The life of the mother and the girl was saved in the hospital. And the girl was named after me. She's called Saadia now. And I'm happy I was able to help. But how many other survivors are really suffering there?
Yeah.
Sure.
So back to my story. Now the first daughter, I gave birth at home. The second, the same. So the third one, I was fearing. I felt like this is the same problem. So maybe hospital is better. My mother is maybe not, why can't I experience? Then I went to hospital. When I went to hospital, I was scared. It was a public hospital because they told me, you know, Saadia, if, for instance, because they are used to how our Somali women are and the FGM thing and all that, they told me at some point, the generators, whatever, psychologically they are preparing me for death. Then I had to go to a private hospital. When I went to the private hospital, already the child is not breathing normally. The breath is already going slow. And this time I refused to be attended to by any traditional birth attendant. I refused. So I went with my mother to the hospital. This is my third daughter and my last one actually. So the doctor came. He was a Muslim. Up to now I thank him because he really helped me heal like you. So he came and he's like, you know, Saadia, he's an Arab. You know, Saadia, your community is bad. I've helped a lot of women here. So already your child is tired. In the space you have, because every traditional birth attendant, what they do, every delivery, you have to get back to normal FGM, the way you are.
So they have to sew you back?
You have to heal completely, like the way you used to before. They will not leave you open, no. So it's another FGM altogether, every now and then, another FGM. So every time you want to give birth, you have to be cut, you have to go through pain and all that. So for me, it's enough. Then what my mother was telling me, immediately, I started panicking. You know, the doctor came with scissors. He has to cut me.
So
He told me this is episiotomy. And my mother is there, my eyes are out. Now, the rest was better. Whatever my mother was telling me started making sense. The scissors is to cut me 2 sides. Oh no. So now he's telling me, even with the scissors, I will still not be able to help you because the scars have been there, you know, in, out, in, out. So what I can do for you is pull out the baby with vacuum. You cut me with scissors, you pulling out my baby out. I don't know whether this baby will be alive or not. So the chances of the baby are very minimal. That will only guarantee my savior, but not for the child. And he told me option 2, which many of your Somali men, that's what they say, do not want, is the cesarean. So if you can convince your husband to sign, to give consent for you, I can take you to theater. That guarantees you both your baby and you alive. I told him I am an educated person. He said, no, with Somali, I don't want to risk. The Somali men are terrible, they are violent. So my mom called my husband. Saudi is actually struggling between life and death, even the child. So what do we do? He said, no, let her struggle. She will give birth. All the mothers, mom, he even takes my mother's example. Even you went through this. Why are you people making hospital like it's a savior? Like, even you gave birth so she can deliver normal. Just encourage her to continue pushing. By that time, my mother, I could hear what the conversation, how the direction it was taken. I told doctor, let me sign for myself. Take me to the theater. By the time my mother was turning back, she saw the bed rising up because it was upstairs. I am telling you, at that moment, I finished all the shahadas, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. I'm going to theater for my first time. I don't know what will happen. So when my mother received the baby, she thought maybe I was dead. I will never come back. She was, and when that was the first time I had a conversation with the doctor, and I told doctor, is there a way out? Why should I struggle like this, year in, year out? Like every time I want to give birth, I should go through this. What is the way out? Then he helped me. That one, I am happy about it. And I say, for even the FGM survivors out there, whenever you see a doctor, make him your friend. Because these doctors actually get a lot of terrible stories, even worse than ours. So for me, it was never easy again. And I just feel, when I look at my daughters, I just say, this is the time that maybe God brought you to this life so that you can be able to be a change agent. Then when I see that other women have sons, I don't have a son, I feel like maybe God was communicating to me directly that you are the savior of women, you are the savior of girls. So maybe that's why. So I have raised my girls to feel as better as boys. So Alhamdulillah, I am a mother, I am a proud mother actually, because today, as I stand here, my daughter is turning 15 November this year, and the second one is actually also turning 14. They were almost following each other. Then 14 next year, June. So the third one is also 9 years now. She just, on 9th of March, immediately after celebrating 8th of March, International Women's Day. In fact, when I was in the operation theater, the governor was issuing my certificate as a good woman who was doing something good for women and girls. It's not here, but I have that certificate up to now, and I gave birth to my beautiful daughter through cesarean, yes, Alhamdulillah, but she's very beautiful. Every now and then she asks me, Mom, so you said you didn't give me, like, you didn't give birth to me like the other, so has your stomach been cut? Where exactly? Then I tell her, don't mind, you are just normal like the rest. Her head elongated, all my girls, because the tiny hole is too small for a baby to pass. Now, here you are struggling with labor pain. Then there is this pain these women are inflicting on you. The baby is pushing to come out. And madam, I always say, FGM does not only affect us, it even affects these innocent babies who want to come to this life.
And lives are lost.
Lives are lost. A lot of babies are lost during delivery, no one reports. A lot of girls die during FGM cut, no one reports.
Women are humiliated.
A lot of women actually die during delivery. It's normal. In fact, in our culture, it's normal. Any day you will die. So, and we even say it in a very simple way. Why umul ra'ada? Meaning, she died when giving birth. No one associates with FGM the way no one was relating it with FGM. So it's good that we really get the safe space. We talk to those who understand our pain. And even the men, you are asking the role of men, the men cannot save us if they don't know what we are actually going through.
Sure.
So everything starts and ends with us. Can we have the safe space for all the women and girls? A lot of survivors out there have even more painful stories than ours. They feel like maybe it's over for them. Like you never had that, self-esteem and all that. Some of them do not have that self-esteem. And some of them, majority of them are struggling. A lot of girls I spoke to are like, they ask me, very young girls, madam, we went through FGM. And in school, we were told the girls who have gone through FGM are not good in marriage. Is it true? A 13-year-old girl in school asking you those questions. Why now the survivors are stigmatized? Then I tell them, no, it's not true. Everything is in the mind. It's about how your mind takes this thing. So I urge you, feel free. You are normal like any other girl. And I want to tell you, the men, as we try to say we are ready to marry the uncut girls, let us not also stigmatize the survivors, because now it wasn't their will to go through FGM. And we don't want to stigmatize the uncut girls as well. They are not stinking. God made them wonderful and perfect. So let's embrace ending FGM as a priority.
That was lovely. As you've heard, our dear listeners, only the wearer of the shoe knows where it pitches most. So I'd like to have our guests maybe say their parting shots in their languages, because you come from different communities. You can say something to your community in your own language. You can start with Bernadette.
Yeah, I want first to say it in English. And FGM ends with us. We are the last, we should be the last women to suffer FGM. My daughter is safe. The girls who are around me are safe. And the girls and the women that I've talked to out there are committed to have their daughters safe from FGM. So in my language, the Maasai, we say, Yog ebaye emurata re ondoi, meaning FGM ends with us.
I may not be able to say it in mother tongue, but my parting shot will be, let's embrace the survivors, let's give them a space, a safe space, let's give them the support that they need. When Sadia was talking, I remembered when I was going to deliver, my baby was preterm. So the baby didn't have the regular, the normal kicks at 36 weeks. So you go to the hospital, it's of course an emergency. Then you're admitted, you're given a sheet to be ticking. Then the nurses would come and check you out. You're admitted on you're not in labor, but because you're pregnant, you're admitted the same ward where the other women are. So I'm not in labor. I'm in this in between. Kujisikiza, they monitor the baby. And women who had gone through FGM go through hell in maternity. I would hear words from the nurses. Nani alikuwa anakufanyia hivi? You know, they were harassed. Push, ama ukufe tu hapa na mtoto wako. And I think also this may go back to our trainings in the medical school. To be able to acknowledge that women have gone through FGM, they may not have it easy during the delivery. And now the stigma from the medical fraternity is what now killed me. And as Sadia said, I spoke to the doctor and I told the doctor, is there a way that I can't go through this? Because it's humiliating. And the doctor, by assessing now me, he said, actually, I can't go through. The scars are too many to even to be able to go through a normal birth. And I know my many people said, why did you go through CS? Women here can push. You're strong, you can push. And even during my second delivery, mentally I was ready to push. Now I think I was in a place where that was not really a problem. But a second doctor told me, these are risky. It's a risk for you and the baby. You'd labor, and for sure I attempted. I went through full, there was no way that baby was going to be delivered. And also I witnessed also in a private hospital where nurses were gossiping women who had gone through FGM. And you see, it now increases the stigma to such a point where women cannot even go through a pap smear. You know, they cannot go through the normal checkups because now it becomes these, the medical practitioners are actually more stigmatizing than the communities out there. So for me is to be able to remove and to reduce the guilt that the survivors go through. No, I don't think a young child 10 years would choose to go through FGM under whichever circumstance. And even the ones who choose, because I know women who have chosen to go through FGM at some point because of peer pressure, probably at 14 years where you feel now you really have to go through. At some point in their lives, they come to realize that the struggles are real. They made a wrong decision that it's not reversible. So for me, is to encourage our communities. FGM adds no medical benefits, no social benefit. Actually, the anguish is more. The trauma, the triggers, it's just too much. And to urge the communities to embrace the survivors, and even to our young men who are in this age saying, my father says our family cannot marry uncircumcised women. And they have all these bad names, you know, labels to these women. To such a point, even women who have been spared, they didn't go through FGM when they were growing up, their parents spared them. But now once they are married, they are being exposed to FGM by the people they trust. And in some weird circumstances when they're actually delivering. So it's the collusion between the medical practitioners again and their partner, the husbands to these women. By the time someone is healing, they're realizing something is wrong, as in this is not how I went back to when I went to deliver. So mine is to urge women more to understand ourselves, our anatomy, because some women have also gone through FGM and they do not know. Someone does not know how a normal private part of a woman should look like. So to embrace ourselves more, and more so seek support. You can talk to someone, and help is available. If you're having any complications, fistula, the cysts, Dr. Adan tells me that the complications of FGM are not even anything we can imagine. He has seen it all. So anyone who has gone through that, there is help available. And this space is actually safe for them to come and share their story, so that we also encourage someone. And when the more we open this space, I give a good example with, I have worked in the HIV programming for a long time. Why we are here where we are is because people living with HIV spoke. They gave stories about their journey, their struggles. And this has actually reduced infections. It has reduced stigma. So if us, the survivors, will not talk, this FGM will be a story and a story and a story. And silently, women will suffer, women will die, children will die during birth. And as we also support to be able to ensure that no any other woman goes through this. Because where I stand, FGM is the worst form of gender-based violence. And for me, it should actually be termed as sexual violence, because when someone touches someone's private parts, it's a sexual offense. So if you're touching my private organ and cutting them, it's the same way someone gets an object and sodomizes someone. You're stitching someone like all across. That's even worse than any sexual. Yes, you're interfering with their sexual reproductive organ, because I feel Kenya, we give sexual offenses an upper eye because of the effect it has. So I'm glad to be here and to be able to share this platform and to create hope to the survivors that this generation, the new generation we are raising of girls and women, will be safe, and will also give them safe spaces and a voice. Thanks.
So she has said something about I had not finished my story. So when I turned 19, I went to give birth. And the nurse, so the baby was coming. So the nurse asks, eti sasa wewe, nani alikufanyia hivi? Sasa the baby is coming. The baby is coming and this person is asking me, eti nani alikufanyia hivi? Nani alikukata? Nani alikuambia uende utailiwe? I'm in pain. I want the baby out. You are asking me questions. Yeah? And then she says, na uache kupush, by the way, kwa sababu ukiendelea kupush hivyo utararuka vibaya. And that time she doesn't have the scissors, she doesn't have anything to do for me, the episiotomy. She has to go back and bring, because I was already in the labor ward, because I think they were changing shifts. So by the time I rang the bell in the labor ward, she came to check what was happening, and then she found the baby was coming. And so instead of now running back to bring the scissors and everything to take care of me, she's asking me questions. So she says, what is this? So when she came back, the baby already was coming out. So already I was tearing, because she had not done the episiotomy. And then she says, sasa ona venye unakaa, ona sasa. Now the Kikuyu word for basket. Ona sasa unakaa kama kiondo. Eti sasa nani hata anataka mtu kama wewe tena. Can you imagine? That is how low someone, you know, she was talking about it, how nurses were talking about me. It happened to me. It happened to me in my first child. Namtu had the audacity to tell me I look like a kiondo. And then she tells me, now juu ninakuhurumia tu hakuna haja ukae kama kiondo, acha nikushone. And then she goes back and brings the hiyo shindano ya kunistitch. And then now I am helpless because I'm in the hospital and my mother is not there, my auntie was not there.
That should be the safe
They had
space.
just left. They had just left because it was around this time. It was going to around 7. So they had to go back home because those years there were no matatus that were regular between Loitoktok and home. So they had to go and get a matatu, the one before the last matatu leaves the market. So they go back, then they check on me tomorrow. But now they left me, so I was on my own. I was 19, I was a young girl, it was my first child. And I was put enough stitches, which, like the way she was saying, I had to sit on my side for the next 3 weeks, breastfeeding a baby. The baby is crying. I'm still a baby myself because 19 was still young. I am, I'm just there. I'm just there. I'm just there because I didn't understand FGM would cause me all that. And today I remember vividly what happened to me on that day in that hospital. And if it was today, today I'm an empowered woman. I would have taken that issue to court. But now that time, I could not because I was helpless. I didn't know anything beyond just being me. Today there are some other girls who have gone through what I went through. And because also them, they don't have a voice, and they are not where I am, then they've gone through the same pain I went through. What saved me later is that when I was getting my other children, I was under insurance and I was able to access very good medical attention because now I was able to have guidance take care of me as I was getting the children. So my first child was very different from the other ones. That means women empowerment and making sure that women have a voice is very critical in their reproductive life and in the choices they have to make while getting their children. Because if you do not have the voice, you do not have the money, you do not have the insurance cover, then you don't have a voice, then you will not be able to. So ending FGM goes hand in hand in economic empowerment for women, making sure that women have voices and making sure that these survivors are able to be given the best health care possible so that they can be able to bring life without pain. We have, going through labor is normal, but going through the pain we went through because of FGM is not normal.
Sure.
And what I want to urge every mother who is listening to me, every woman who has gone through FGM like me, who is listening to me, protect your daughter from female genital mutilation. Be the woman who will protect her daughter from female genital mutilation. I thank God I am now able to protect my children, just like Sadia has said. My daughter is turning 25 this year. She's a sexual and reproductive health expert. She is walking in my footsteps. She has not gone through FGM. She is a voice for the other girls who are still adolescents. And I am training her to be a stronger woman than me and to save the next generation of women, not only from female genital mutilation, but for them to have a voice, to become a force to reckon with. Yes.
So maybe I want to say it in my mother tongue, the way you said. So FGM ends with us in the Somali means gudninka anaga hanogo ekato. So I'm telling my sisters who are also FGM survivors kindly, anis fahano, anis maqalno, gabdahena way rafaadeen, gudninka anaga hanogo ekato inshallah. So what I want to assure you all is that we really need to build the capacity of women and girls so that they are able to have the confidence to share their stories. I am 100% sure there are women who have never went out of their village and they still feel it's normal to endure the pain. And what we went through is not normal. What we went through is not normal. God has given us a natural way of giving back. God has made everything actually simple. But for us, we destroyed everything with our hands. And today, women are actually paying for our hands. What we did with our hands is costing a lot of lives. And I want to tell the people out there, kindly listen to us, hear our stories. We are the people who suffered FGM, and we are the people whom you are advocating for. Because everyone is saying let's end FGM because you want to save our daughters from FGM. But no one talks to us, the survivors, to make us heal. All of us have different, unique stories. No one is telling the survivor, training her on how to heal. We really need safe spaces like this. We need to counsel as many women as possible so that they build their confidence and be able to save their own daughters from FGM. If women do not understand what they went through, it's not bad. Then how will they even make their daughters are not going through the same? So we really need to build their capacity, give them the confidence, give them counseling and healing so that they are able to save as many daughters as possible. Today, as we are seated here, you already heard us. I have 3 daughters who are saved from FGM. She also said the same. She also said the same. So as survivors of FGM, we are committed. Whatever we went through should never happen to our daughters. We want to urge other survivors to join us so that we are able to save as many girls as possible. It's our daughters who are at risk of being cut. Let us speak up and ensure the data, the statistics ends with us. And I want to thank everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Millicent, also for hosting us. And I want to tell you this is not the last. It has just started. We will have this conversation over and over again. We will continue notifying you. You have heard us, but there is a lot of millions of women out there that you need to hear their stories. We really need to share our stories, which are best told by us. Stay tuned. Next episode is coming soon. We will plan with the Iron Lady. I say the Iron Lady because the moment I started sharing my story, she told me her story, and I was like, so I'm not alone. We hugged, and we said we really need this space for ourselves. And thank you, Eva. And I'm sending million hugs to all the survivors out there. This is us.
Yes.
We have overcome the pain. We really need to bring more survivors, the millions out there who are silent. Let us not be silent. Break the silence. It's a healing process for all of us. We need to save our girls as much as we can. FGM ends with us. Amen.
It ends with us.
It ends with us.
It ends with us.
It ends with us.
It ends with us. So thank you so much. Let's break the silence. And the show is Survivors Safe Space. It's a space for us to share our experiences, and as we said, the wearer of the shoe knows where it pinches the most.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, our listeners. You can follow us at BSI Kenya. For the survivors that are out there who need to reach to us, you can email us at info@bsikenya.org. Thank you so much.